dialed in
to Bucks and Brews, you might hear something
you can use.
like tips on your cash or tips on the suds.
You're gonna want to
The
use
smarts of these stuff.
because they know the brews.
And they know the Bucks, and they know they can't help the stubborn fucks.
So listen up, because shit's not funny.
And save yourself some
Beer money. Bucks
and brews.
Bucks and
Bucks
and
brews.
brews.
Bucks and Brews.
Welcome back to Bucks and Brews. So we're starting a little early on Twitch here today because Nick and I have decided we're going to start with what George Carlin used to call free-floating hostility, because we have a lot of that and we want to get really into that before we talk debt ceiling later tonight. So this may end up being 2 episodes. It may just be one long episode. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. We'll try hard to avoid the debt ceiling stuff until our guests get on. And
Well, our guest isn't on until 8.
is the other one joining us?
The other one is not.
Okay.
So we'll have Mike here in a little bit and the professor join us around 8. So I figured we could start talking debt ceiling maybe like 7:15, 7:30.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah, he's not until 8. Yeah. So
yeah.
it's quite a
So we
while.
got him for an hour.
Yep.
So what you drinking?
Oh man. So I'm you know what? I'm in a hostile mood. So
A little hostile
I
today.
went back to just a quick Bud Light.
Yeah.
That's my first one. I need to get a beer in my belly. Start enjoying this. Went through my holiday 24 pack that we
Yep.
talked about in a couple episodes. Really excited for this bad boy. Again from Mobcraft. From our mountains to our bogs. It's a spruce and cranberry IPA. Like, I've had some trees and shit on my steak. I've never had it in my beer.
Might as well try it.
Right. So kind of fun. Because of this episode, you and I both agreed this is an awesome name. And again, I randomly pulled some beers up and said, yep, this is what we're doing. But this one's called Batshit Crazy.
Which really kind of tells us about our night tonight.
Oh my gosh. Coffee brown ale with lactose. You and I both enjoy lactose in our beers for some reason. We love Rochester Mills and milkshake stouts and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And then the other one I pulled out was a apple lager. Lager with honey and apples.
That sounds delicious.
And so,
honestly.
I mean, I've had Bush Light apple. I've had Bud Light apple because that's in Canada. And a couple of friends have given it to me and stuff like that. So I guess I've had apple lager before. And so I'm just I'm excited for something like this. So I don't know what order I'll drink them in, but I do know, as I said, I'm gonna pound a Bud Light here and be happy with myself for 2 seconds. So we say
You don't want to know what I'm drinking?
no, because
I'm not drinking tonight.
I mean,
I'm having a Mountain Dew Zero and then water.
you're being the responsible one of the two of us.
So sometimes when we get into these conversations,
Yeah,
I get a little worked up,
very much.
and then I drink a little more than I should, and I start slurring a little bit because I mean, let's face it, I'm kind of an alcoholic.
Or and we don't say things we regret very often
No,
because normally that's where our feelings are. But we do try to make this educational for you guys.
we do, and sometimes
We go off too big on tangents.
So that was actually a conversation I've had the last couple days.
What's that?
Our wives do not listen to us.
Never.
I don't know what your wife thinks. I know what mine thinks. Mine says specifically, I can't listen to you guys because you can't stay on topic. I'm like, it's like a normal conversation. I mean, we talk about things and sometimes we go off on a tangent just like we do in normal talking.
And that's one thing that we've talked about, and I brought up quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
I'd love to do little 15-minute segments, and actually YouTube's going to start promoting more money to do 15-minute segment type thing. So when we get enough and when we get time, we'll go in and edit out hopefully and be like, hey, this is where the real good stuff is. But we also do this because we want people to understand that we are normal people. We do normal things, and we go off on tangents, but Dawn, she'll listen to my tangent when she's in person, but not on the radio. And I understand that. But she just understands, hey, this is what these guys literally do all day.
Yeah, I mean, she listens to us when we're together, all 4 of us or however many are there, and she's fine with that because she's involved in the conversation.
Right.
She enjoys coming on our episodes and being a part of the conversation.
Yep.
but she can't listen to us. Like, she watched the episode with Joe.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great. I remember most of it.
Yeah. Well, that was a late episode.
It was a very late episode. I mean, we got done at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I thought we had great conversation. And she goes, you and Nick, sometimes you're off talking about shit that has nothing to do with Joe.
Yeah.
And I just had to shut it off. I can't deal with that. I want to listen to what he has to say, not you two. I hear you two.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, I get it.
And it's hard because we don't want to have scripted.
No,
we don't want to have scripted questions because we want them from the heart. But I also think that when we do list, we go into the questions, right? So, tonight's episode for us, like, dude, I was rattling off and I was like, I need a piece of paper. You're like, oh, you got scribbles here. And I was like, yeah, but I'm running out of little spaces.
You just need to bring.
You're already recording.
We are already recording. So Nick got in here and he was on fire. So we're doing a George Carlin segment to start our episode tonight of Free Floating Hostility.
Yes.
I want to start out with what you mentioned to me because everybody knows how much I hate this prick. So why don't you go ahead and tell me my news that I'm hoping works out to get this motherfucker gone.
So I don't have it up, but from what I remember, new allegations out on our favorite Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh of him waving his dick in the guy's face.
Yep. Trying to cover up some of his past misdeeds. Yep.
And possibly committing perjury.
Which, of course, I mean,
we already know that.
Say perjury. It would be guaranteed to be perjury if the next things came out because then he perjured himself under the right. Because they asked, "Have you ever?" The answer is no. That's official perjury at that point. Right. If you've ever watched the show Suits, it is one thing that I thought was really awesome. They focused on it, and the guy's like, "I will never perjure myself." Just watch a few episodes, you'll get addicted. But so now I want to go into healthcare, which you and I fucking love to hate. Okay. We were talking about it. Okay. So statistics are a thing. They're numbers that are figured out for a reason. Sure, they can grow and they can shrink depending on if people focus on the thing.
Being who we are.
Yep.
And enjoying finances the way we do, we're very number driven. We want statistics, we want averages, we want numbers. Give me solid numbers so that I know what you are talking about can be quantified in a way that anybody can understand.
Right.
When I look at, for example, when I look at a baseball player, I want to know, well, this guy only gives up 2 runs every 9 innings. That's a guy I want throwing for me.
And we go to that exact point. Right? Let's go. Middle school, high school baseball.
Yeah,
dude, I know kids that can bat 700. I mean, right? You're not playing, but now you look at the pros, right? If you're a 300 average, you're greatness.
Yeah,
I mean, like, so if you're missing 70% of the time, right? So, that's okay. Now, when we go into money, like, hey, if you're 22 and you have 10,000 in the bank, you're in the top 25%, or top 25. So you're better than 75%. If you're in your 30s and you have 30,000, you're better than the top, you're in the top 25. And so age group wise, we talk about those things. Okay. So what's happening right now in our life? My wife's grandmother broke her femur. Okay.
Big bone in your leg.
Giant fucking bone. I mean, I got a big bone. I'm 6'1" or whatever, right? And so my femur's quite tall. My wife's grandma is very short, and still her femur's their biggest bone.
Right.
But anyway, so on average, 6 weeks to heal.
Yep.
Okay, so that takes into account old people like her, who's 86, takes into account the
young people,
17-year-olds who can, but still, like, even at that, if you beat average by half, you're still at 3 weeks, which is 21 days. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. If you're past it, then you're whatever. But so 6 weeks, 42 days is the average to see progress, to have progress. And so she goes into this assisted facility, and is in rehab facility, right? Insurance will cover up to 100 days. And then about day 18 comes around and they're like, hey, you haven't made progress or whatever. You're at day 20, you're cut off.
Yep.
We're not paying. Wait, no, you're supposed to cover for 100 days. No, only if you show progress and blah, blah, blah. We can't waste this. No. Like, average says it'll take 42 fucking days. Give me average and then figure out, right? Like give me, and I'm not going to fight for the 100 aspect but I will, because that's what you state. Hey, this is what we'll cover. Yeah, but if you're showing some progress, and I was like, man, so you don't want 100. You're just trying to make yourself look good.
No, really what they want is to not have insurance pay.
100%.
Insurance doesn't want to pay. So insurance says, hey, 20 days, no progress, out.
Nope. And so, and so I'm sitting here fighting and talking to my wife, who knows so much more than I do, right? She's in this field, she does stuff, and she's talking to the people, and she's like, what if she can do this? And she goes to the lady, she's like, hey, I'm in the medical field. That's why I know what I'm talking about. And she's like, yep, if we see this as progress, we'll allow another 14, but the chances are very limited that this is going to happen, right? She could probably get to it in 14 days, but you can't go back, right?
Right.
But so basically she can self-pay for $300 a day, which is $9,000 a month.
Yeah.
I don't know many people that can afford $9,000 a month.
9,300 if there's 31 days.
Right. So January, February, let's just say, right? So but like, I don't know many people that have 20K to make it for the average, right?
Yeah.
So
nobody has that. Not nobody. Average people, because we like average.
Yep.
They don't have that kind of money laying around.
Right. And if they do, they need it because hopefully they outlive the average. Right. I mean, so I'm very annoyed. And so I'm talking to my wife and I was like, all right, what does it take? Well, she'd have to go back to the hospital and get readmitted. And because I was like, well, send her back to the hospital because then she'll pay, the hospital will be covered. Well, she has to get admitted. And I was like, figure out how to fucking admit it. Like, I don't care, right? Like, stab yourself with a fucking pencil. Like,
but you know how hard it can be.
Yeah, dude.
I was literally dying and they just sent me home.
Yep. See you. Have a good day. But still, like, I don't know. Like, there's gotta be, don't cheat the system, but play the fucking game if that's what they're going to play. Because if she gets readmitted and then she has to go back for rehab, they'll give her another 20 free days to start. Right. And it's like, man, if that's what you have to do, just figure out the way to, hey, you know what? This hurts. Well, let's take a look at it. Nope. I think I need an x-ray. Nope. I think I need an MRI. Nope. I think I need this. Okay. We'll cover these. I mean, everybody's like, oh, the bills on that's really expensive. Well, not with the insurance they actually have, right? It's going to be covered. So, I mean, force them to do all this stuff. You'll get admitted for the day because it'll be overnight. And guess what? You're admitted because you went in late that night. And then you go back to the place for another 20 free days.
Again, we shouldn't have to jump through hoops
to get what we
get actual help.
Basic fucking necessity.
Yeah.
Like, again, and here's my wife's telling me, she's like, all right, well, my grandma can get up and she can do some. She's non-weight bearing, right? But she's like, all right, so we can bring her back to her place because we moved them into an assisted living facility, but the assisted living won't let her there unless she can do most stuff herself, and she has to be a single lift, which she's a very small woman. I would never be a single person.
No.
But that being said, so now we can pay. They actually have people on site where they'll help you get up to go to the bathroom. They'll do these types of things. And that's $65-$75 a day.
Yeah.
Which is much more reasonable than the $300 a day. And so it goes to that point of, man, if you're hurt and don't have somebody to hold your hand, and I mean, and I'm not trained, so I wouldn't feel comfortable doing, and she wouldn't want me to, right? Like, I'm not her, but like, I wish my wife and I could trade right now.
Yeah.
I really wish I had a job. I wish I was doing that. So
your wife would just take care of Graham.
Just fucking go and like, just understand it. Like, and it sucks to say because like all of me wants to sell everything again.
Which you do every 3 months.
But it's because like life, so like, I don't want things to fucking be able to hold me. And if I sold everything, I live
comfortably for the rest of your life.
Right. I live like a normal fucking you
for
the rest of my life. I mean, in theory, I would make just as much as you do on a yearly basis and just be fine.
Yeah.
I don't want fine. Like,
I totally understand that.
Right. Like, that's why we invest for
right.
But so I want to sit here and go, okay, hey, babe, why don't we sell everything? You go take care of your family. Cause I mean, her other grandma was in the hospital at the same time with some other stuff. And it's like, hey, but our problem is when you're done with that generation, her dad's not the best health person. So who knows if he's gonna,
Yeah.
screw around and do some stupid stuff. So like, when does it stop? Never. Then you're taking care of yourself. But that was always a priority for me when I was working. Was, hey, I'm leaving. I'm taking this time off because I'm gonna go sit in a hospital room because my aunt's passing.
Well,
And,
and you brought this up before we started recording. You said I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, and you very much are not.
right.
And I don't prescribe to either party either. I mean, I'm much more Democrat than I am a Republican, but I'm purely just a leftist.
Right.
I'm progressive. I think that we should be taking care of the people in the country.
Yep.
I think that, citizenship should be laid out for people that are not of this country, that this is how you can obtain it. Go ahead.
No, I'd love to just talk my quick opinions on this. Okay. So here we're talking in America, and this is a conversation I've seen, and it's funny because people will ask us, where do you find your stuff? And it's sure, I don't believe everything on TV, but like, look it up. Okay. The growing concern, the fact that millennials and below are not going to be having families. Okay. So your mom comes from how big of a family?
There were two.
And your dad?
4 brothers, 3, 7.
7, right? My mom and dad both come from 6. Okay. So that generation, I mean, and I can tell you how many people that had, look at my generation. I can't tell you. I mean, I'm from 3, the most in my aunts and uncles. Well, I have one uncle that has whatever, but out of the amount, if I have 15 nieces and nephews, or cousins, on one side, and I have a bunch, but the most in the family has 4. Okay. Average household is getting smaller, right? And they're concerned about this, but they're not allowing people to come into the US. So wait, you want the population to grow, but you don't want to allow growth. Well, you want it to be natural. Well, guess what? We can't afford natural, so that's people aren't having it. Like,
well, and that's a good point. So, my grandmother had 2 kids. My mother had 1 kid. My aunt had none.
Yep.
I have no biological children. I my daughter, she's my stepdaughter technically.
Yep.
But I have no biological children. I never will.
Yep.
Okay. And not that I didn't want to, but Dawn couldn't have any more kids.
Sure.
And I wasn't just going to go knock somebody up for
Just
shit.
have a kid, right.
So, I mean, that line ends with me. My daughter's turning 28.
Yeah.
I don't know if she'll ever have any kids. And I mean, she's going to have to take extraordinary measures to do it because she don't like dudes.
right.
So she's not going to have one the conventional way.
Right. And she's going to pay what, 20, 30. I don't even know how much it costs.
It costs a lot of money.
Right. So like,
I mean, I told her, find a friend, get a fucking turkey baster. Boom.
let's say, there you go. Yeah.
Why are millennials not having kids? Why does Gen Z not want to have kids? They
don't want houses.
But why?
Because
You have to get to the why.
I mean, they feel they can't afford it.
They can't afford
there's
it.
millions of reasons.
But a lot of it is they cannot afford it.
I would say, I would agree. I don't know, agree with a lot. I would say there is a lot. Okay. That's an answer, but I don't know the numbers, I don't know statistics, but I will say the FIRE movement is a huge thing,
Mhm.
right? Because it's, hey, work hard for really small, live below your means. And it's a big thing. And they want to go travel the world. Because like, again, we talked about it. You went on shit tons of vacations. I went on 0.
Yeah.
Right. Like, sure, I went on vacations, but they weren't what we do now. I mean,
Right.
they weren't these things. I mean,
You went camping.
right. I did poor people vacation.
You might have gone to Cedar Point.
Right. And that was a freaking,
Yeah, that was a huge vacation.
that was the world to everybody.
When I turned 6, I went to Disney World.
Right. My friends, it's funny because, my friends were like, oh, I went to New York for a school trip, went to Chicago for a school trip. No, I guess who was still in school?
Yeah.
Me, because
There was no money for that.
right. You couldn't afford that shit. Like, it just,
Well, Jen and Lawrence has been on the show with us.
Yep.
They're a great example. They're, early-ish 30s, about your age,
has very
0 kids,
decent money.
great. No, honestly, Lawrence makes great
Yeah,
money.
no,
0 kids,
Yep.
0 interest in having kids. They like to do what they want to do. They're in April, they'll be taking off to England to go to Star Wars Celebration, not to visit family, to go to Star Wars Celebration.
Right.
They might visit Lawrence's family while they're there,
Yeah.
but they're going for Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
Now, Nick, I love cons.
Yeah.
Guess who's not going to Star Wars Celebration?
right.
Because I'm not spending that kind of fucking money to go to England to go to a con. I'm just not.
Right.
But I also, I'm still kind of supporting my family. I have to have extra money if my mom needs it. I have to have extra money if my daughter needs it.
Right.
I have to pay off medical shit.
Mhm.
I mean, there are priorities I have here that are not necessarily traveling. I have to save money for a trip to England in a year and 6 months, 7 months,
Right.
because we're going to celebrate, at least a year off of my coaching career, maybe forever, and Mike's 50th birthday.
Yeah. Well, and
I'm old.
Yeah.
yeah, and so I'm at this point, and we talked about it, and I'll I have no problem saying it. Okay.
Mhm.
Am I for universal healthcare? No, I'm for a reformed aspect of healthcare, right? And I do think that Medicare and Medicaid should be a thing. And I mean, right, as a landlord, I don't really look at medical debt too often because
Everybody has it.
I mean, right, and every poor person has it. I'm poor, right? Like in theory, I am poor. I don't have medical debt because I find a way to pay it. Aspect. I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't been hit with a tragedy. I crash a motorcycle, I'm in there, and my normal bill is whatever. I haven't had sepsis. I haven't, I haven't had cancer, things like that. There's things that will just ruin you forever. So fortunate in that aspect of things. But I look at it and say, and we talked about it, like housing, okay. This affordable housing thing. And I'm for helping people get housing and stuff like that. Be able to afford to do this. But I'm also for making you grow and do things. So in order to get your license, you have to take a test, right? You have to do a road test and a written test. Okay. It's not illegal. I cheated on my written test. I literally I had things people don't know. I used to have long hair. Like it would be able to cover my eyes type thing. I'd look like a shaggy homeless guy. It was great. But I remember like I'm sitting here and I can see through and okay, she marked A, she marked B, she marked C, B, A, and I'm just, it's funny how she finishes, I finish, and there we go, right? Like, I'm not afraid to admit that, right? I'm not a reader. I can't comprehend what I'm reading and understand it. Don't get me wrong, my motorcycle one I passed by myself, that's 10 questions. And but the road test, I can do that. Physically, I can do things. On paper, I'm not smart, right? Like I can do a math test, I can't do a reading test, right? I'm not afraid to admit that. Which is why I'm not a fucking lawyer. I can't retain, I can retain information if somebody taught it to me, but I couldn't if I read it out of a book. Right. Or unless it's, pounded into you for a million times, right? So it's just, but to me, I think that, hey, if you get a raise, your numbers need to come lower. Also, as much as I don't want the government into my house, here's the thing. If you're going to come into my house, there needs to be a belief aspect back onto my side. So here's what I find, and I'm going to say above average, okay? The amount of times I've walked in. Boyfriend, girlfriend, get a house, they have kids. She's always claiming that he doesn't live there, he doesn't have any income, they're not married, this type of thing. So they're playing the system aspect. Every time I'm there, guy's there or the car's there, or you can see clearly that he lives there, right? So there's so much more income. You're just playing the system. And I don't know. I wish that they would fix that aspect of people taking advantage of the system of that, because I know for a fact that you're not taking that money that you're saving from your boyfriend, whatever it is, and investing it for your future. These are the people that have the 10 boxes of Jordans, and the kids have toys all around. Don't get me wrong, everybody has toys, because to be honest, if I had to put my daughter's 7, let's say we bought her 7 toys. Everybody else, because we have birthday parties, Christmas, millions of Christmases and stuff like that. Most of her toys come from other people, because we're the boring parents who give her clothes or give her money and stuff like that, because she does. My kid has so many toys.
Well, and you're going a place here that, I always thought back to when I was poor, and we needed help. So Dawn got an EBT card.
Yep.
Food stamps.
Food.
She got it.
Yep.
and it was to be loaded like on the 4th.
Yep.
And she got it like a week before that. And then she gained employment, like 3 days before it was to be loaded. And they said, yeah, you don't qualify anymore. You ain't getting shit.
Yeah.
Mind you, we still didn't have any fucking money. We didn't have any damn food.
Because you don't get paid for a week or two.
Right.
Right.
And I kept saying, this is bullshit. They're willing to help me if I'm homeless. They're willing to help me if I'm a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're sitting here going, we just need a little bit of help. Give me 2 fucking weeks
Yep.
to, get something under my feet.
Yep.
They're like, yeah, fuck off.
Well,
And those are the things that piss me off. When you're ready and when you need just that little bit, screw you.
so that's okay. That's not funny. I don't want to say that's the funny thing. It's the
Ironic.
thing is the fact that like food, they fucking cut your ass right?
Immediately.
Like, but housing, they don't, right? Like housing, they just don't.
Who was it? I want to say it's Iowa Republicans.
Okay.
Are basically they've decided that they're putting a bill on the floor, I believe, to get rid of most of the things that qualify for food stamps. They want it to be only things that a mother could get on WIC.
So bread, peanut butter, milk,
Now, I'm pretty sure
cereal.
they're cutting milk and bread,
and eggs. Oh.
but they're keeping something. I'm gonna look it up because it pissed me off when I heard it, and it pisses me off now. So you go complaining, and I'm gonna go find it.
Okay, so like we've all seen the this person in front of me got steak and lobsters on, and then they swipe their food stamp card. Okay. They did it once, right? They're not doing it every time. I don't know how they did it. I don't, but like the problem is they're probably hungry until they get that thing fucking loaded again, right? Like they took that risk and they were trying to show off. And sure, nobody wants to fucking reward the person for showing off, but like, trust me, it probably bit them so much later, right? I would bet money on it. Or they did an illegal thing and somebody had their baby daddy there and supporting, and they bought somebody else's food stamps for 50 cents on the dollar, whatever it is.
Iowa House Republicans are proposing limitations to the state's SNAP benefits,
Sure.
which could drastically narrow what items program beneficiaries can purchase. Under the proposal, items including white bread, American sliced cheese, and fresh meat would not be covered by the program. Instead, House File 3, introduced last week, would restrict users to items on the state's approved list for women, infants, and children's program. I'm looking to see if they say what those are. So the bill would prevent SNAP recipients from buying everyday kitchen staples, including butter, cooking oils, spices, white rice, rice noodles, and canned vegetables, fruits, and soups. As the approved WIC list is restricted to 23 food categories, 4 of them being specific to infants. The allowable meat purchases, would be canned tuna and salmon. Even though meat, poultry, and seafood, the top expenditure categories by SNAP households, according to a 2011 U.S. Department of Agricultural study. So if you are a poor person in Iowa, they want you to only be able to buy canned tuna and canned salmon.
Which is absolutely.
Which is dumb because it's not even like it's any market that they have there.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I don't know, we're really fighting about what somebody puts in their body that's got nutrition, right? If it's non-nutritional, I understand. Okay. Don't get me wrong. Like I used to drink Coke like crazy. You can't drink Monster, but you can buy Coke, I believe, with Wix. You can't buy candy though, right? Like, I mean, there's no nutrition to that aspect, but, and honestly, I don't eat anything but white bread.
See, I eat wheat, but again,
I'll eat honey wheat once a year.
The problem I have with Republicans is everything they do is to target poor people. And that I have a huge fucking issue with.
Here's my other issue as well, along with that. So what I remember about food stamps or WIC in general. Okay. So you have to go to a Meijer or a Walmart with that. You cannot go to an Aldi, which is cheaper. Right.
And better quality.
Right. But so because like if you go get milk, you can't buy Meijer brand milk. You have to get Country Fresh, right?
Mhm.
Like it's on their approved list. Now, Country Fresh costs an extra $1. You can't buy. So Meyer has bread, which I learned tastes like crap after my wife spoiled me with some really nice bread. Which I do. I spend $3 on a loaf now, or 2 for $5. But Meyer has bread, and I think it's $1.19 now. It used to be less than $1. Right, some dry, but like you couldn't buy that, right? You have to buy Wonder Bread or Sara Lee type thing. So people that want to try to budget and save the money aspect of things, they can't, and so you're forced to do this type of stuff. So that type of thing bugs me, and it's probably just because their system doesn't show a flag and a code, and they're too lazy to put these types of things in there.
So
which is dumb, because that's, I mean, even like the stuff he said. I mean, white rice. White rice is a staple for like 50% of the world's population.
Yep. Well,
and it's
and
relatively inexpensive relative to pretty much every other grain out there, but still.
it bugs me because I
it can
hate
go a long way.
I love white rice. My wife will eat wheat rice and she'll eat brown rice. I don't like it. If I'm telling you, if I go to Qdoba, which now has brown or white rice, I tried the brown rice once because I thought it was going to be healthier, and it probably is healthier.
Wait,
Never again will I eat that
Have you ever
shit.
watched Qdoba make brown rice?
That's probably just
It's white rice with seasoning on it.
I'm not
I've watched them make it.
right. So it's just
wealthiest country in the world, because of course we like stats.
yeah.
Nearly 40 million people, 11% of Americans live in poverty.
Yeah, which is,
That's 1 in every 10. That's more than 1 in every 10 because it's 11%. So literally, you could line up 100 people. I could throw a rock and hit 3 people living in poverty.
Yep.
Just out of the ricochets.
Yep.
And I think both parties are okay with it for the most part, but the Republicans are way more okay with it than the Democrats are. There are some Democrats that actually are pissed off about it because they've been poor. And I'm pissed off about it because I've been poor.
Yeah.
I would like to know the stats on what poor people choose to stay poor. Because there are people out there that are just like, fuck it, I can't change it. So this is just what it is. It's almost like homeless people that have decided there's no point in me trying not to be homeless because it's just, I'm too much in a hole. I don't care anymore.
Right.
And a lot of that can be drawn back to mental health. A lot of it can just be drawn back to despair. I mean, when you're at your lowest points, what can you do? I mean, I was texting you all morning today.
Right.
And it was not very happy text messages. I mean, it was pretty fucking morbid.
Right.
And, I'm not suicidal or anything. So it's not like you're coming back going, do I need to drive over there? But at the same time, I was pretty morbid today because I'm just not in a good headspace.
Right. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Because we feel like we're trying and we feel like we're and you're getting nowhere. And the thing is, I understand that this is a long-term game, right? Like life is, as much as I say it's very, very short, it's longer because you don't get the instant gratification every single day, right? People get gratification once a week or twice a week, depending on when they get your paychecks, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, once a week or once every 2 weeks. And you get your gratification for the things you've done. I don't know. I'm very annoyed with how divided people are in their mindsets, right? And we talk about this pride aspect of things, like you give 2 craps on whether a man is with a man or a man was with a woman, when I mean, what difference does it make? You're not going to cover them insurance wise because why? Like, I'm super annoyed with
people in the world, not just this country, in the world, are way too consumed with what other people do in the bedroom or with their body. If you're not hurting somebody, it's none of my fucking business.
Right.
There are these people that want to change, child molestation to something that sounds better. These people are, these people
I've heard this
are actually hurting children.
Yeah.
So no, they don't get to justify what they're doing because of some bullshit that they want to say. if it's a mental illness, that's fine. They need to be somewhere that they cannot touch children. But at the same time, if you and I decide tomorrow, and I say decide, even though I know it's not a decision. If you and I decide tomorrow, we're done with our wives, let's get married.
Yep.
Whose fucking business is it besides our wives?
Right. I mean, in theory, they both make out like bandits.
They totally would.
But
other than them,
who doesn't?
Mike doesn't give a shit.
Well, even if he gives,
I mean,
shit,
it affects
would-
me because why was I not contacted first?
Exactly.
right? Like, hey, I didn't get to go to the wedding, right? But like, you know, it doesn't. I don't see if somebody could point out. Sure, there could be a couple negatives, but if you could point out 5 financial reasons of why it doesn't help versus I can point out 5 reasons of why it helps the economy, why it helps, you know, things. You know, well, a man needs to be a man. Okay, again, I hate it when people say man up and do it.
Yeah.
Like, because who gets to describe what that means, right? Like, I also
Again, nobody gives a shit about our feelings because nobody really ever asks us,
Right.
are you okay? Are you really okay?
right.
Like we'll ask each other. Michael asked me, I'll ask
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
But normal people aren't like, you know what? Nick's been really off today.
Yeah.
Is he all right? And I mean, it does happen because sometimes Dawn will see a status that you post and she'll come to me and she'll go, is Nick okay? And then I'll have to, you know, if I don't know about it, go find out, okay, are you all right?
Right.
But the normal thing is people don't honestly give a shit.
No, well, they don't give a shit how you're doing. Okay, so there's people out there who will be in a bad state of mind, and so they'll go buy a brand new car to make themselves feel good, or they'll go buy a brand new lawnmower, and then, oh man, they're doing really well. No, man, they just fucking financed their. I'm going on vacation because I'm depressed, right? Like we talked about this. Like, I need to. So I mean, am I going into debt for it? In my own debt? Yes, I'm not. I'm not investing it. I'm not doing things.
You're not
So-
doing what you should be doing. You're doing something that will make you feel better.
Correct.
I mean, I had this talk with Christy today while we were working. I said, you know, it sucks because the more stressed out I am, the more depressed I am, the more I want to just have a drink.
Yep.
Which is a clear sign of being an alcoholic. But it's the way I regulate at this point because the meds aren't regulating me enough. And I'm too pissed off about everything going on around me
Right. And
to have a sound mind.
and people, you know, why can't you just control your anger? If I knew how to do that without telling you how stupid you are, I probably wouldn't have to have this conversation, would I? Okay.
Well, you know, and when I'm in therapy with Angela, she, you know, she has gotten me to understand that I'm not angry, I'm sad.
Yep.
But I don't know how to express sad.
Right.
I know how to express angry,
And we're good at it.
and we're really good at it. So when I'm sad, the only thing that comes out of me is anger.
Sure.
And I'm mean and I'm sometimes vile to people.
You want some?
Which is this?
This is that spruce
No.
and cranberry.
It's an IPA. No.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be real fun.
You enjoy that?
I will.
No. But again, I do very mean things when I'm in a very bad and dark place because I can't deal with sadness. I don't do well with it. It's not that I don't understand. I understand it, but I don't do well with it. It's not an emotion I feel comfortable displaying. So I just get pissed off.
Very much. And I think, I mean, if I actually had to look at it, I think I'm in the same boat, right? Because I mean, I don't deal well with death. I don't
Mhm.
deal well with things. And so my outlet is a drink, or I mean, you know, it's something stupid. You know, when I was a kid, I'm not blaming my wife in any way, shape, or form. Don't take this as that. But like as a kid, I could run from all of my problems.
Mhm.
I would go to a bowling lane and just bowl from the time I got out of school until bedtime, go to bed, wake up, get picked on all day for being fat or whatever. I give two shits. I was on a bowling lane. I mean, I literally, I could run from my problems. Now in my life, I can't run from my problems. And so then my wife's like, well, the only way to run from my problems is into a bottom of a glass, right? Well, why can't you just take care of your problems? There's because the way I know how to take care of it is not a fucking good way. Okay.
So I'm going to ask you this because I have a feeling you're going to have the same answers that I have considering my wife.
Sure.
Do you yell at your wife when you shouldn't?
100%.
Do you feel bad about it afterwards?
100%. I almost texted her. We got into a little argument before coming here. She had asked for, we're at my mom's. I'm having a conversation. We're trying to figure out if we're going out to food. And she's like, you want Chinese? And I was like, nope. They just had Chinese for lunch. And then, well, this. And then my brother's like, oh, I'm not really hungry. And that's fine, blah, blah, blah. And we're sitting there, my kid's being annoying, right? Which is fine.
She's 7.
Right. Nick, do you want Chinese? No, like they are they going? Let's figure out if they're going with us. Like, and then finally they're like, they're not having it. This all happened in like a 2-3 minute period. Nick, but so do you want to go get Chinese real quick before we go? And I was like, sure. Like, no, fuck God. Like, so I just got angry. I was like, all right, see ya, fuck this. I'm gonna go get my own fucking food because I'm not gonna sit here and deal with this.
Right.
Fine, have a great night. Bye. Fuck you. Right. Like, plain and simple. I was at the door, drove, went and got my own fucking food, came here and had a 2-minute fucking bitch fest. And I'm just like, and so I wanted to, because she thought I was in a bad mood, which I wasn't, right? I was just in a very annoyed mood because we didn't have plans. I like plans. This is why I plan things. When we're going on vacation, I was like,
our wives are not planners.
Right. Not at all, right? No. And so we're going on vacation, and I'm sitting here going,
you want to know what you're doing every minute of every day.
Yeah, right.
So do I.
You know, like that's what the cruise, I enjoyed the fact of this is when
trivia is at 7. I need to be at trivia.
You know
what
the stuff I'm going to be? Here's the itinerary. Trivia 7.
Yeah.
Like if there's, and like the thing that pissed me off is when there's 2 things I want to do.
Right.
Like, I don't know. You guys think you guys are doing trivia while we went and watched the one ice skating show. You know, fucks with my emotion because I want to do both.
Yes.
Hey, like, but so I want to go to Tiger Woods mini golf down in Orlando. She's like, well, I have no really want. And I was like, okay, like, well, if you want to go by yourself. And I was like, no problem going by myself, but you have to understand it's funny because every time I say, hey, I want to go do this and she doesn't want to, but you can go do that. But then I'll go to the bottom of a glass or 12 and, well, why'd you do that? I was having a great time. Like, that's why.
Well, and at the end of the day, you're self-soothing as well.
Yeah.
You know, you're making it better. And one of the other, distinctions I want to draw here is, do you yell at your wife worse when you're drunk?
Sometimes.
I do.
Yeah.
That's usually when I'm worse to my wife. And I always hear well, if you love me, how can you treat me like that? I'm fucked up. That's how.
Yeah, I say, but I
don't want to.
I'm a range of emotions. So if I'm angry, I yell much worse.
Yes.
But if I'm happy, I'm all lovey-dovey. Like, just as my wife is actually kind of the same. Like, if she gets a little drunk, then she gets a little, hey, you know what? You're a good guy, you know?
We had a party back in the summer for MLVC's album release.
Yeah.
And my wife had Fireball, and Fireball's the end for her. I mean, if she has a shot of Fireball, it turns into 3 shots of Fireball in like a minute and a half. So she's gone by that point. Okay. Sure. And I was an asshole and I was a piece of shit and just going off on me. Mm-hmm. I don't internalize any of that. I don't care.
Right.
You're drunk. I don't really feel like you think I'm a piece of shit.
Right.
I am okay with you calling me that.
Yeah.
You are not okay when the shoe is reversed.
Yeah.
And you're pissed at me because I'm okay with it because I don't really feel that you feel that way.
Yep.
And they always hit me with this bullshit of drunk words or sober thoughts. Fuck you. Not for me, they're not, okay? No. I'm going to tell you how I really fucking feel about you when I'm sober. No. If I say shit when I'm drunk, I'm just drunk.
Right. Well, you know, we there's a thing called beer goggles for a reason.
Yeah.
So
I remember I'm young, okay?
Yep.
And I think I was newly 21. And I came back to visit Mike and they took me to Deja Vu.
Yep.
And there was one point where Mike's like, hey, I'm going to go over here for a few minutes. You are not to get up out of that seat.
Yeah.
And I said, why? He goes, because you're really drunk and I don't trust your decision making. And a girl comes over.
And you couldn't even drink at.
Yeah, and you couldn't even drink that. I mean, we got drunk before we went.
Sure. Yeah.
And a girl comes over.
Surprising they let us sit.
I am too, because we were all a little tipsy, except for the DD.
Sure.
Who I don't even remember who that was at that point. But a girl came over, sat next to me, and did everything she could to talk me into the back room.
No, sir. I can't.
And all I kept saying was, my friend told me I have to sit right here and wait for him. I can't make decisions. She
would have talked you into like the VIP suite.
That's what she was trying to talk me into. And she's like, come on, you don't have to listen to your friend. I'm like, yes, I do. He told me to sit right here. I'm going to sit right here until he comes back because I
and
had
actually,
no
probably at that
decision
point,
making.
I was probably the DD. If I was
Actually,
doing
I
that.
think you were, because that would have been post one of your seizures.
Yeah.
So Walling and I were, shit faced.
Yeah.
Mike was the DD,
Yeah.
and he was the responsible one going, you're not allowed to move from that seat. And I had enough wherewithal to listen to my friend.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, when you drink, sometimes you don't know what the fuck's going on.
You're saying. Trust me.
He would have maxed out his credit card to
I mean,
pay
don't
for
get me wrong,
that woman if you'd have been left to his own devices.
100%.
Sober Nick will drink a beer. Drunk Nick will do shot after shot and try to keep up with you.
Yep.
My intent is never to spend $100. It just happens all the time.
Yes.
Because you get to a point where you're just like, all right, cool. I can keep going. Might as well. I'm already here. Like,
So I'm going to interrupt at this point.
yeah.
Have we done enough free floating hostility that we want to take a pause here and then go into the debt ceiling? Because we're 30 minutes before the professor.
Yeah.
You want to just
Yeah. No,
end an episode here?
seems great.
Okay, so stick with us on Twitch. We're going to stop recording real quick.
Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family.
Absolutely.
So we'll see
I
if
almost
this
forgot
episode
that.
comes out because
Your 2 drinks that you've had, let's talk about them real quick.
I had a Bud Light, tried and true, always the blue. Wouldn't mind if you start sponsoring me. And I am on the Mob Brewing from your mountains to our bogs, spruce and cranberry IPA. I'm enjoying it. It might be with another brewery. It's Jagged Mountain Craft Brewery.
I
So
love team ups.
I didn't know what a spruce tasted like because I've never put one, but like it's fun, and then you get some cranberry hint, and it's
not bad.
it's a fun. I'm very much enjoying myself.
I mean, I hate IPA, so I won't, but I did
Do
bring you up
you
a
get a
warhead
little
for
bit
later.
of like that? Like, I don't know how you
let's,
even call it.
let's cut that bad boy off.
Yeah.
He wanted to know if you get the taste of the evergreen.
No, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you taste
Yeah.
you taste what a spruce would taste like, I guess, right? Like
Interesting.
which
Kind of like
so if you ask me if
taste it and you think of like a Christmas tree.
not Christmassy in any way, but like of
No.
that smell that you would get.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, if
The
you ever
pine-
But like
type
when you
smell.
just first chop down your tree.
yeah, exactly, kind of, you're getting okay. So you're getting a wilderness
Yeah.
flavor in your
Yeah.
mouth.
Okay.
So it's fun because I've never experienced that, and so I like to try new things.
So again, Twitch,
An IPA, which is basically like licking dirt anyway.
right. So again, Twitch, stick with us, like, subscribe, share for this episode. It's great that we're doing 2 tonight because Nick's going on vacation here soon.
I am.
So we'll be back with you in like 30 seconds.
You've dialed in.
2 Bucks and Brews, you might hear something.
You can use.
Like tips on your cash or tips on the suds.
You're gonna want to
The
use.
smarts of these
Because
stuff.
they know the
And
brews.
they know the box. And they know they can't help the stubborn fucks.
So listen up, because shit's not funny.
And save yourself some
Beer money. Bucks.
and brews.
Bucks and
Bucks and brews.
Brews.
Bucks and Brews.